The tennis world had been waiting for this moment. 7 months of anticipation. 7 months of wondering whether history would repeat itself. 7 months of a defeat that had haunted Alexandra Eala like a ghost that refused to be exorcised. It was January in Melbourne when the nightmare began. A perfect opening set. A 6-0 bagel that announced her arrival on the Grand Slam stage. And then, inexplicably, everything fell apart. The American with the killer serve had turned the match on its head, leaving Eala to walk off court 6 wondering what had just happened. Now, on a humid August evening in Toronto, before a capacity crowd of 12,500 at Sobeys Stadium, the ghosts of that Australian Open defeat returned to haunt her. Same opponent, same booming serve, same threat of another collapse. But this time, Alexandra Eala was different. This time, she had a secret weapon, a brilliant tactic that would not only avenge her defeat, but would leave the tennis world stunned and scrambling to understand how she had done it. What did Alex Eala do differently? How did she neutralize one of the most powerful serves in women's tennis? And why did her opponents start looking at her with a mixture of fear and confusion? The answers reveal a tactical masterclass that is redefining what it means to be a champion. To understand the brilliance of Eala's victory in Toronto, you have to understand the pain of Melbourne. The 2026 Australian Open had been the moment when the world was supposed to witness Eala's coronation. Instead, it became a lesson in the cruel mathematics of tennis. The first set had been perfection. A 6-0 bagel. Eala's return game was sharp and relentless, breaking down Parks' serve with surgical precision. She won 60.6% of points on first serve returns, while Parks struggled at just 27.8%. The crowd of Filipino fans who had traveled thousands of miles to watch their hero erupted with every point. But then the match turned. Parks found her rhythm, and her serve, that weapon that had made her one of the most dangerous players on the tour, began to fire. She finished the match with 12 aces, overpowering Eala with pace and placement. The Filipina, who had dominated the first set, was suddenly pushed into defensive positions, unable to apply the same return pressure. The final scoreline was devastating. 6-0, 3-6, 2-6. A victory that had been within grasp had slipped away. What made the defeat even more painful was the context. The loss extended a concerning pattern for Eala, her third first-round exit in a Grand Slam tournament, and a clear indication that she needed to learn how to close out matches against power hitters. But what stung most was what happened after the match. Parks, perhaps frustrated by the overwhelming support for Eala from the Filipino fans, questioned the volume of their support. It was a moment that turned a tennis match into something more personal. Eala never responded publicly, but she remembered, and in Toronto, she would finally have her chance at redemption. 7 months later, Eala stepped onto center court at Sobeys Stadium with a completely different game plan. She had learned from Melbourne. She had studied Parks' tendencies, and she had developed a tactic that would neutralize the American's biggest weapon. The brilliance of Eala's strategy was simple but devastatingly effective. Instead of trying to match Parks' power, she would absorb it and redirect it. At 5'9", Eala is giving up 4 inches to the 6'1" Parks. She cannot match her opponent's raw strength, so she chose not to try. From the very first point, Eala extended rallies and patiently forced errors. She didn't go for winners on every shot. Instead, she made Parks work for every point, forcing the American to hit one extra shot, then another, then another. It was patience personified, and it worked. Parks fired 4 aces in the opening set, but Eala had neutralized her biggest weapon by breaking serve twice, while capitalizing on 18 unforced errors from the American. The opening set was over in just 31 minutes, with Eala claiming a commanding 6-1 victory. The numbers told the story of a tactical masterclass. Eala generated far more chances on return, earning 14 break points and converting 5. Parks created only 2 break point opportunities and converted both. Eala was simply relentless on return, winning 71% of her first serve points and 52% of her second serve points. The tactical blueprint was clear: don't panic, don't rush, and don't try to overpower. Let the opponent's aggression become her own undoing. By the end of the match, Parks had amassed 56 unforced errors compared to Eala's 26. It was a staggering statistic that illustrated the difference between raw power and calculated precision. As Andy Roddick had noted, Eala was no longer scared to play the top players. She had learned to use their power against them. And against Parks, this lesson was applied with surgical precision. Just as she had in Melbourne, Parks responded in the second set. The American blasted 4 aces in the opening game to hold serve and stayed level with Eala through the first 8 games. Then came the breakthrough that threatened to repeat history. With the score tied at 4-4, Parks finally earned her first service break of the match before serving out the set to force a deciding third frame. The ghosts of Melbourne were haunting Eala once again. The same opponent, the same scenario, the same threat of collapse. But this time, Eala had an answer. "I think I had to take it point by point," Eala would say after the match. "Of course, I think she played really well in the second, and there were definitely things I could have done a little better. I tried to improve on that in the third. I tried to come out hot and just take all the opportunities that I could, because she doesn't really give you much." The adjustment was immediate and decisive. Eala broke Parks in the opening game of the decider for her first break since the opening set. Parks refused to go away, battling back from a 0-2 deficit to level the score at 2-2. But then Eala found another gear. She broke Parks for the 4th time in the match to move ahead 3-2, a pivotal moment that swung the momentum back in her favor. From there, Eala reeled off the final 3 games to complete the victory. The final sequence was a masterpiece of controlled aggression. She won the 7th game to claim another break, then served out the match with a love game in the 8th. Eala had done what she had failed to do in Melbourne. She had closed out a match against a power hitter on a big stage. She had refused to let history repeat itself. The victory was sweet. But for Eala, it was about more than just advancing to the 3rd round of the Canadian Open. It was about redemption, and she delivered it in a way that left the tennis world stunned. After the match, Eala did something she rarely does. Without prompting, she opened her on-court interview in Tagalog. "Kamusta tayo ngayon, Toronto? Wagaway nyo na yung mga bandila nyo," she said to the sea of Filipino fans who had packed the stadium. "Alam nyo mga kababayan, linggo-linggo kayo kayong nakikita. Sinusuportahan ako. Linggo-linggo nakikita kayo kung gaano nyo kamahal ang kapwa nyo Pinoy. Kaya proud na proud akong maging Pinoy." The message was clear. She hadn't forgotten what had happened in Melbourne, but she wasn't going to respond with bitterness. She was going to respond with gratitude delivered in a language that needed no translation for those who understood the subtext. "There are so many Filipinos in the crowd tonight, so many flags. I am eternally grateful," she said in English. "I just came off Washington, so I really feel like this is a celebration. You know, my fellow Filipinos, I see you supporting me week after week. And week after week, I see how much you love your fellow Filipino, and that makes me incredibly proud to be Filipino." No names, no jabs, no lectures, just gratitude delivered with the elegance of a perfectly disguised backhand slice. Softly struck, impeccably placed, impossible to return. It was the sporting equivalent of a masterclass in class. Eala had let her racket do the talking. She had won the match. She had avenged her defeat. And she had done it with a grace that made her victory even more powerful. Alexandra Eala's victory over Alycia Parks was more than just a win. It was a statement. It was proof that the Filipina sensation had evolved into a player who could not only win but learn, adapt, and grow. The tactical brilliance of her approach was undeniable. Instead of trying to match Parks' power, she absorbed it and redirected it. She extended rallies, forced errors, and capitalized on the Americans' inconsistency. By the end of the match, Parks had amassed 56 unforced errors compared to Eala's 26. It was a statistical illustration of a tactical masterclass. But the brilliance extended beyond tactics. Eala's mental strength was on full display. After losing the second set, just as she had in Melbourne, she didn't panic. She didn't doubt herself. She simply adjusted and executed. "I tried to come out hot and just take all the opportunities that I could," she said. And that's exactly what she did. The victory extended Eala's winning streak to 6 matches on her North American hardcourt swing. It marked her 6th win in 7 WTA 1000 opening matches this season, with her only loss coming against Teresa Valentova in Doha. She also improved to 10-4 in 3-set matches at tour level this season. The packed stadium court at Sobeys Stadium, where tickets sold out in just 30 minutes, was a testament to Eala's growing popularity. She is no longer just a promising young player. She is a phenomenon. A player who has learned to use her opponent's power against them. A player whose tactical brilliance is leaving the tennis world stunned. 7 months after her defeat in Melbourne, Alexandra Eala had her revenge. And she had done it with a brilliance that cannot be denied.